So guys, sometimes being creative doesn't only mean what you paint, but it means what you paint on. And we had this old cutting board that we've been using for years, and instead of throwing it out, I'm gonna make some art out of it. Here we go. First things first, gotta get this thing sanded and cleaned and dried and prepped. So after it's all sanded and prepped, I put on this GAC 100 from Golden. It might be called GAC, but I like calling it GAC. It's more fun. Just kind of splatter it on, keeps the oils from the wood from coming through the paint, keeps the paint laying on the surface. And then it's time, once that's dry, fully dry, I'm just starting with the base coat. I like, not always, but when I'm using this distressed beat up type surface to paint on, a lot of times I like starting out the base coat to be pretty messy and textured. I wanted the paint to soak in to the wood grain. It gives some interest to the background of the painting. At this point, I'm not really totally sure what I'm going to paint at all, but a lot of times when you do this sort of messy splattering as a base coat, sometimes it leaves little drips and marks and textures that might influence the rest of the painting. So, I don't know, just find that it works. So, picked up the brush and I started off with some really thin liquid acrylic. It's a raw umber. And I'm just kind of going with the lines of the grain to start it out. I'm starting to see some lines that remind me of a wave breaking. Maybe you can see as I trace over the lines how it kind of comes together. It's a fun phase. There's a lot of room for changing. I'm not committing too deeply to what I'm creating at this point. But by this point of it, I'm starting to see that, yeah, this is starting to work. I like how it's working with the grain of the wood. I'm starting to see where it's going to go. Keep it real loose, liquidy, transparent. And then I started throwing in some lights. I wanted to keep it kind of subtle and muted. I didn't want to go too crazy with making the colors all bright and bold. I wanted the piece to be more subtle. Not a foggy day, but maybe kind of like a hazy, sunny sunrise, sunset type of a vibe. And I'm going one color at a time. So this is like a golden ochre with some white, some titanium white, as Bob Ross would say. Just sort of throwing in the ambient light. Ambient light is the light that's not necessarily the brightest. It's not the main light source. It's the atmosphere, the light that's around the main light, which is this super bright sun that I'm painting in. It's important to sort of focus on the light, whether you're painting or whether you're just kind of going through life. You know, there's a lot of shadows around us. There's a lot of shadows cast upon us by other people. And I find that even in a thick wooded forest, you can still see slivers of light punching through. And I like that sort of outlook with life, trying to find the bright, trying to find the light. Just by focusing on the light, the shadows almost take care of themselves. Everything does have to have a balance. The shadows are necessary in our lives and in our artwork, and in music, for that matter. The negative space or the deep bass sounds, it's all necessary in order to bring more attention to other parts of the song or the painting or your life, right? So by this point in the painting, I'm bringing in some warmer tones. It's a transparent red oxide. It's mixed in a little bit with yellow, different kinds of yellows. I used some cadmium and some other colors that I can't pronounce right now. Different kinds of yellows. But I kind of kept the palette really simple because I didn't want it to get too complex. I like painting sideways. I almost forget sometimes that when I'm painting that it is upside down. It gives me a new outlook, a new way to view the painting. I could sort of see things from a different perspective. It's good to flip things on its side. Another metaphor for life, right? It's good to just kind of take inventory of what you have, look at it from a different perspective. Gotta dry this thing. Wanted to just kind of crank out this painting. Today I've been kind of putting aside some of my more time-sensitive projects because I really wanted to just remind myself that creativity can be fun and low stress. I've had a lot going on this month. We all have, I'm sure. And I'm super grateful and thankful that you guys have been so supportive. I've been spending so much time just doing like administrative work and fulfilling orders and like paperwork and computer junk. All good problems. I'm not complaining. It's great being busy. But I just felt like today I needed to just kind of paint for painting's sake, to remind myself of why it's important to me, what it does for me mentally, emotionally. It's a meditative process for me. It always has been. It's very cathartic. It's real easy to kind of forget why we do the things that we say we love. A lot of times we say we love doing a certain thing, but then after a while it becomes habitual or it becomes background noise. I like to take these sorts of periods of time to remind myself, like, yeah, I do like painting. It does serve a purpose for me. It does make people happy, and it does give me an outlet to express myself. It's important to do those sorts of things. Final touches are a lot of times where the most magical parts of the painting come about, at least for people that look at a piece. They might be drawn towards the final touches, the details. There's sort of like these tricks up our sleeve as artists, little highlights, little details and whatnot. Doesn't mean they're any more important than the rest of the painting, but it is sort of where things kind of get that that pulse from. It gets that life force energy happening with these sorts of things. And this part is where I'm kind of putting the light to that punches through the wave. It's a really inspiring part of watching light interact with water, is how it interacts with the water in a way where parts of it are very transparent, parts of it are extremely opaque, blocking the light. It creates these great warm light tones mixed in with cooler dark tones, and our eyes are naturally drawn towards that, whether it's a real wave or whether it's a painting. So here it is. I brought a whole new life to this cutting board. Let me know what you think. Hope you liked it.